Shalom, shalom, Israel. Welcome again to Watchmen of the Faith Ministries. My name is Yashra'al, and the title of today's show is called Ha-Chittah-Wa-Ha-Zizanion. Again, the title of today's show is called Ha-Chittah-Wa-Ha-Zizanion. And the word Zizanion is not Hebrew, the word is Greek. And it just simply means in English, okay, the wheat and the tares. And that's going to be the title of today's show. Okay, but before I get started, what I wanted to do is go over some important things that I've been coming across, because I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people throughout the course of the week, and I just want to capitalize on or bring some clarity to some of the questions that's asked of me, throughout the course of the week. Now, again, as everybody knows that watches my show, I feel that Hebrew is very, very important. But Hebrew is not one of the criteria that we have to know in order to make it to the kingdom. That's not what I'm saying. Greek is also important because it also helps us to understand what's going on in the scripture. But it's very important for us to understand now is that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our forefathers, were Hebrews. And I believe now is that the more Hebrew we know, the more that we can relate or identify with our culture, our language, and our identity, the better off we'll be when, we begin to understand the scriptures. Because we have to understand that this is all written from the Hebraic perspective. Now, one of the four important things that I want to talk about is the word Torah. Torah is very, very important. Okay, because a lot of people, and even Messianic believers in the Messiah, look at Torah as a book of do's and don'ts. And what I want to explain is that the Torah is more than a book of do's and don'ts. Torah sets us apart from everybody else. And that's what the nation of Israel is supposed to understand. We are a set apart people who was given laws, statutes, and commandments. So we're not supposed to be looking at the scriptures from a mechanical perspective. Oh, today is Shabbat, so wow, I can't really do anything. Today is the Day of Atonement, and so we're not into the spirit of it. We look and do everything from a mechanical perspective, and that's not what Torah is all about. Torah is not a book of do's and don'ts. Torah is supposed to make us feel happy. And again, it sets us apart from everybody else. Torah teaches us that we're special. And everybody should want to feel special. So, with that understanding, again, the Torah is not a book of just do's and don'ts. We're supposed to be happy about Torah. It sets us apart. Now, what I want to do now is go into some definitions of Torah. Maybe it would help us more to understand what our responsibility is. And so when these feast days come around, maybe our people will be a little bit more in tune to want to do them. Because it seems like our people are still more happier, and or when these pagan holidays come around, they get all sad because they say, wow, I remember the time when I used to spend time with mommy and daddy doing Thanksgiving and doing Christmas and things like that. Listen, you're not missing out on anything, all right? We are a set apart people, and we don't need to get involved or feel sad because of these pagan holidays that's coming around. What we have to do is make sure that we stay on our guard, especially during these pagan holiday seasons, because Ha-Chittah-Nakash is very, very busy during this time of the year. Now, again, Torah comes from the Hebrew word Yarah, which means instructions and teachings. Again, the word Torah comes from the Hebrew word Yarah, which means teachings or instructions. And what we have to do now is make sure, or what I have to do now is make sure that everything that I'm saying, okay, as a laborer in the vineyard, is everything that I'm saying, it has to be brought out in the scripture. So again, I say that the word Yarah, which means teachings or instructions, that's what it means. Now, let's go to the book of Devarim and bring that out. And the word Devarim means words. We can go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. And I'm going to be reading verses 1 through 7. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Elohim, your father, commanded to teach. And that word teach is very, very important, because that word teach means Yerah. That word teach is referring to Torah. So again, Elohim, our father, commanded to teach you that you might do them. And that word do them is very, very important. It's an action word. It's a verb. We must do the instructions, the Torah that was given to us, because this sets us apart from everybody else. And we see this set apart being displayed when the Father called out the nation of Israel out of Egypt, out of Mitzrayim. All right, we were called out to be a set apart people for Him, to the Father in the Son, and this is what brings us into covenant relationship. Okay, to do them in the land whether you go to possess it. In this land that was given to the nation of Israel, because Israel is a set apart people. Okay, but again, Torah is very, very important. We have to make sure that we understand the instructions and the teachings. Yerah, very, very important. And the land that was given to the nation of Israel was the land of Canaan. So what do we have here? We have the groom. The groom being the Messiah, bringing the bride over the threshold into the land of Canaan. And the place where the Father placed His name is Jerusalem. All right. Again, the Father brings the bride, okay, over the threshold. Because I'm taking nothing away from the Father, because the chain of command is given to us in the book of Corinthians, all right, where it talks about the Father, the Son, and then the Messiah. Taking nothing away from the Father. It's impossible to do that. Okay? The Father is the Father. He's the all-knowing, the all-being. He's the omnipotent. He is who He is. And He sent His Son as the mediator, okay, to speak to the nation of Israel. Verse 2, that thou mightest fear. And that word fear is very, very important. Again, the reason why I like to capitalize on words like this, okay, because it gives us a better understanding of what's going on. The word fear is associated with the word love, respect, honor, and to be submissive. Okay, again, the word fear is associated with the word love, respect, honor, and the nation of Israel is supposed to be submissive to the Father and the Son. Not fear as in if you watch something on television and it might scare you. We're not looking at it from that perspective. Again, that's the reason why I say looking at the scriptures from a Hebraic perspective is so important. So again, one more time, that word fear is associated with the word love, respect, honor, and being submissive. That's the responsibility of the nation of Israel when she, the bride, understands Torah. That thou mightest love Elohim, thy Father, to keep all. And that word all is very, very important, because we can't pick and choose what it is that we want to do. In order to be in covenant relationship with the Father and the Son, we must do all of it. Okay? All of it. To keep all His statutes and His commandments, which I command thee, and thy son, and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, that thy days may be prolonged. And so again, this is the reward if we follow the laws, statutes, and commandments, that thy days may be prolonged. Verse 3, hear. And that word here is so important, because our people suffer from a disorder called hearing what we want to hear. Okay? What we have to do now, it's called selective hearing. Put it that way. Our people suffer from a disorder called selective hearing, where we want to pick and choose the things that we want to hear. But we have to do all the things that is written of us to do. So hear therefore, O Israel, Yisrael, and observe. Observe is very important. Observe to do it. Make sure that you do it. That's our responsibility. Our responsibility is to be that light for the other nations. The other nations' responsibility also is to follow Torah. There's only one power on the planet Earth, one power. And every nation, every people on the planet Earth must be submissive to Elohim. Every nation. And the people that the Messiah chose, the Father chose to do this, was the nation of Israel. Again, that it might be well with thee, and that you may increase mightily. As Elohim, thy power of thy fathers, have promised thee in the land that floweth with milk and honey. So this land that floweth with milk and honey is Jerusalem. Jerusalem. That is the navel, okay? That is the center of the planet Earth. Jerusalem. Verse 4 is very, very important, okay? Verse 4 is a commandment, okay? Israel is being told, hear, O Yisrael, the Adoni, our Father, is one. Or like I like to do in Hebrew is Shema Yashra'al, Ha'Allah Yashra'al is Akkad. Akkad meaning one. One. Not two. We can't compare or make a liken of the Father and the Son to anybody. This is all about us coming into covenant relationship with the one. And the one is the Father. Yahuwah, and his Son that he sent is Yahushua, and the people that came into covenant relationship with the Father and the Son is the nation of Israel. Verse 5, and thou shalt love Elohim thy Father with all thine heart. Okay, with all thine heart. Not a 50-50 love, okay, the way that Teddy Pendergrass did with his song. We're talking about the man has to give 100%, the woman has to give 100%. If you're giving 80%, that's not all. If you're giving 90%, that's not all. 95% is not all. The man and the woman has to give 100%. And with all thy soul and with all thy might. Verse 6, and these Devarim which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. We must think, breathe, and live Torah. Verse 7, and thou shalt teach. That word teach again is Yarah. And what is it that we're teaching? We're teaching Torah. And for us to be in covenant relationship with the Father and the Son. That's what we're teaching. Again, verse 7, and thou shalt yarah them diligently unto thy children. We have to be diligent. Diligent. Every day we must breathe. Okay? See, hear, talk Torah. This is what's going to keep us in covenant relationship with the Father and the Son. And this must be also manifested, okay, in our personal relationships with our with our wives and with our sons and daughters. So that means that it is also very important that our women understand the scriptures, because they are also supposed to be an example of us. Nobody is left out here when it comes to understanding what's going on in these scriptures here. And again, verse 7, and thou shalt teach, yarah them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest at thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. That is so important for us to understand, Israel, is that we are supposed to be in covenant relationship with the Father and the Son, and we're supposed to talk about these things when we wake up and when we lie down. All right? So shalom is very, very important. peace is very important. And the way that we keep this peace, this shalom in our house, is that we must walk and talk about these things every single day. Now, what I also want to bring out, okay, with the word Torah, is that the word Torah is also synonymous with a whole lot of other words here. Torah and the word of the Father are all synonymous. Because what we have to understand now is that what is the word, or who is the word of the Father? The word of the Father is Yahushua, and Yahushua is the Torah. I'm going to say it again now. We need to understand who and what is the word of the Father. The word of the Father, okay, is Yahushua. And Yahushua is, okay, the image or the self-portrait of the Yara in the world. So a lot of times when you follow my series, I say that Torah is the self-revelation or the self-portrait of the Father in the world. And to prove that, okay, because I don't want anybody to believe that I'm just saying a bunch of words here, let's see whether or not the word of the Father is Yahushua. And let's find out, is Yahushua the Torah? Let's go to the book of John. The book of John, the first chapter. And I'm going to be reading, let's see, the 14th verse only. And the word is Devarim. And what is the word? The word is Yara. What is Yara? Yara is Torah. And Torah and Yara is synonymous, okay? And it means instructions and teachings. And so now the teachings, the instructions was made flesh. It was made flesh. And who was it that was made flesh? It was Yahushua. It was made flesh and dwelt, and that word dwelt is Sukkot. It's Sukkot amongst us, among us, or tabernacled amongst us. So who was it that tabernacled, or who was it that dwelt, or Sukkot amongst us, that became flesh, okay, the Shekinah of the Father? It was Yahushua. Yahushua is the Shekinah of the Father. Again, and we beheld, is in parentheses, and we beheld his Shekinah. Now, also we have to understand too, now there were no periods, question marks, and commas in the original writings. But again, this is very interesting though, okay? It says, and we beheld his Shekinah, as it has here glory, the Shekinah as the only begotten of Abba, full of grace and truth. So we're talking about the Messiah. Now again, Yahushua is the word of the Father, and all these words are synonymous. Yahushua is the living Torah. The Torah is the way, the truth, and the life. The Torah is the will of the Father. I'm going to say it again. The Torah is the will of the Father. Now, be patient with me, because this is all bringing us to a clearer understanding of Ha-Chittah-Wa-Ha-Zizanion, the wheat and the tares. It's just that I want to do a little introduction to the importance of Torah, which is going to help us to understand the wheat and the tares. Now, I said now, the Torah is the will of Abba, the Father, and to prove that, because the Torah is Yahushua, is the self-portrait or the self-revelation of the Father that was manifested or that was made flesh in the world, and it dwelt or Sukkot among us. Let's go to the book of Matthew, the third chapter. The third chapter. I'm going to be reading verses 16 to 17. And what I want to elaborate on is the Torah is the will of the Father. Verse 16, and Yahushua, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water. And the word water in Hebrew is mayim. And lo, the heavens, shaim, were opened unto him, and he saw the Ruach of the Father, okay, descending like a dove and lightning upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Verse 17 is very, very important. I'm going to read it again. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. So that's the reason why I said now that the Torah is the will of the Father. The Father is well pleased in Yahushua, who became flesh. The Torah became flesh, and it dwelt amongst us. And the Torah is the instructions. The Messiah is the instructions. The Messiah is the self-portrait of the Father in the world. Now, what I also want to bring out is that the Torah is likened unto water. And the word water in Hebrew is mayim. Now, to prove that, I want to go to the book of Yahuhanan, the 4th chapter, the 14th verse, which is the book of John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I'm going to go to the 4th chapter, and I'm going to be reading actually 13 and 14. You can read the whole story yourself, okay? This is talking about the woman of Samaria, okay? So the Messiah is going to answer this woman of Samaria. Yahushua answered and said unto the woman, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Now, let's see what mayim, what water the Messiah is talking about. Because I'm making, again, a connection with Torah being associated with water. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give, the mayim that I shall give, shall never thirst. So we know that we're not talking about literal water. This water that the Messiah is talking about is their instructions, is how we can become better connected, okay, with the Father and the Son. So this water here is not talking about literal water. But whosoever drinketh of the mayim that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give, or the mayim that I shall give him, shall be in him. It shall tabernacle in him, okay, a well of water springing up everlasting life. So that's what we have to understand about the Torah. The Torah is being likened into water. Okay, it brings us into a closer and better relationship with the Father and the Son. And that's what this whole thing is about. From day one, it's about the nation of Israel being in covenant relationship with the Father and the Son. And this is also supposed to be manifested in our physical relationships with our wives and with our children. All right? We're supposed to be in a spiritual relationship with one another. Israel is a community. That is supposed to be a spiritual connection. The connection that a man is supposed to have with his wife and with his children, that is also supposed to be manifested spiritually. Very important. What I also want to do too now is I want to go into some more examples about Torah. Torah is also likened into milk. And the word milk in Hebrew is kelab, spelled C-H-A-L-A-B. Okay? And again, that word means milk, and Torah is likened into kelab. Okay? Or keleb, spelled again C-H-A-L-A-B. And I'm going to go to 1 Kepha, which is 1 Peter, the second chapter. The second chapter, we're going to read 1 through 2. All right. And this is what we're supposed to do, okay? Because milk is very, very important. Once we become renewed creatures, okay, in the Messiah, Kepha is saying, wherefore laying aside all malice and all, again, these words all are very important, and all guile and all hypocrisy and envies and evil speakings. All right? We're supposed to be as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk or kaleb of the Devarim. And the word Devarim is associated with the word Yerah, Torah, teachings and instructions. And so we're supposed to desire the milk of the instructions that was given to us back at Mount Sinai. This is, again, Israel. This is about us understanding the blueprints from the very beginning, because nothing has changed. This is the reason why I don't like saying New Testament, because it automatically makes us think, like I always say, that if we have something new, then the old thing or the other thing that we have is now old. So what we tend to do, thinking from this Greco-American perspective, you always throw away the old thing and keep the new. But this is all one testament. So when we go to the book of Bereshit, when we start from the very beginning, okay, the Tanakh, the Torah, it's telling us that the foundation is very important. You don't throw away the foundation. So I say that now is that the word, the Devarim, the instructions was given to us from the very beginning, and the milk, we can't forget the milk stage, all right? Because there's four stages to understanding Torah: the Peshat level, the Remez level, the Drash level, and the Sod level. Those levels are very important. And so once we begin to get a better understanding of what's going on in the scripture, we don't throw away the milk. The milk is still very, very important. So again, what we have to do is to understand and desire the sincere milk, okay, or kalab, again, of the word, and the word is Torah, or is the word Yerah, or the instructions that the Messiah gave us, that you may grow thereby. So how is it that we grow? We have to become babes again. And what do babes drink? Babes drink milk. Babes don't drink juice and water and soda and eat meat. Babes start at the beginning stage, all right, and they drink milk. So Torah is likened into milk. That's what I wanted to bring out. Now, what we also have to understand is that Torah is also likened into honey. Honey, honey. And the word honey in Hebrew is debash, spelled Debash. And again, Torah is likened into honey. Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 10th chapter, the 9th verse, because I want to make sure that I prove all things. And this is about Torah. It's going to give us a better understanding of the wheat and the tares. The 10th chapter, 9 and 10. And I, John the Revelator, went unto the angel and said unto the angel of the Malach, give me the little book or the little scroll. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. Again, we're talking about instructions. The word Yerah means instructions or teachings. And so what we have here now is that John the Revelator is being given a revelation. He's given understanding. And that's what Torah does. It gives us a clearer understanding of what's going on. Verse 10. And I took the little book or the little scroll out of the angel's hand and ate it up. And it was in my mouth sweet as honey. That is what instructions do. is sweet as honey. And the reason why it's sweet as honey, because it brings us again in closer relationship with the Father and the Son. And this also has to be practiced on the celestial level here, okay, with our wives and our children, okay? Torah teaching is very, very important because it keeps the family, okay, nice and tight. If the Torah is not being preached in the family, the house will fall. And that's what happened with the nation of Israel with our relationship with the Father and the Son. We stopped following Torah. Verse 10 again, and I took the little scroll out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey, and as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. So I just wanted to bring out the fact now is that honey, Torah is likened into honey. What I also want to bring out now is that Torah is likened into wine. And the Hebrew word for wine is yayin, spelled Y-A-Y-I-N. And to prove that, I want to go to the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter. 55th chapter, and let's see here. Let's read 1 through 3 quickly, okay? Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, Mayim, and he that have no money, come you, buy and eat. Yes, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. So this is being given to us freely. We don't have to go to the seminars and in all of these other schools and things like that to be endowed with the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, this doesn't come by not that way. And there's somebody giving you a certificate. This comes about by the sincerity of the heart. And it's being freely given to us. This is the reason why the scriptures clearly tells us, now listen, you don't need money to obtain this mercy, okay? This glory that the Father is trying to bestow upon us. You don't need money to do, to have or to come into covenant relationship with the Father and the Son. You don't need money to do that. Verse 2, wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently. And we talked about that in Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, 1 through 7, where that word diligent is very, very important. So Shemai, okay, listen diligently unto the Father, okay, who sent the Son, and eat you that which is good. We're talking about, again, Torah. Eat that which is good, which is Torah, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me. And how do we come to the Messiah? Is by following Torah. Hear, and your soul shall live. Hear the instructions, which is Torah, and your soul shall live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of Dawiyad. That is so, so important, all right? So this is not going to take money, okay, because I was part of an organization before. If you didn't pay tithes, okay, you were not allowed to speak. So tithing was very, very important. If you didn't tithe, you were not allowed to speak. All right, so that's a whole nother topic there. But again, I just wanted to bring out again the importance of Torah. And one more liken or example that I want to do with Torah is that Torah is also compared to a hidden treasure. All right, a hidden treasure. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs, the 25th chapter. And I want to go to verse, let's go with verse 2. It is the glory, and the word glory is Shekinah. And so we have to understand who is and what is the Shekinah of the Father. And the Shekinah of the Father is Yahushua. It is Yahushua, the glory of the Father, to conceal a thing. To conceal a thing now. But the honor of kings is to search out a matter. And the word matter in Hebrew is devar, spelled D-V-A-R. Again, Hebrew is important, but I'm not saying that Hebrew is a prerequisite in order for you to make it to the kingdom. I'm just saying now that it helps us to understand what's going on in the picture a whole lot better. That's all that it does. And the word devar means a saying or a utterance. So again, concealing a thing, all right, it is the honor of kings to search out the devar, the saying, or the utterance. Because when we do our research, this shows the Father and the Son that, listen, you know what? We really, really want this. We really want this. So it takes time for us to study, make sure that we're breaking down each word correctly, so that when we present the information in the vineyard, that is absolutely correct. And that's everybody's job. That's a minister, okay? A ra'ah in the scripture is that he must teach accurately and making sure that the information that he's giving out is correct. And I know for a fact, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I can bet the house on it, is that this is talking about covenant relationship from Genesis to Revelation, and that the Messiah chose the nation of Israel, and the nation of Israel's responsibility was to show forth the praises of the Father and the Son throughout the four corners of the earth. Israel did not do that, and so the bride was kicked out of the house and scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. And that's what happens when the woman is disobedient to Torah. She's kicked out of the house. And that's exactly what the Father did to the bride. Okay? And it's so funny is that our people are like this. We didn't even stay in the house a hot minute. Okay? Collectively. We came through the front door, okay, and stayed for a minute and went straight out the back door. That's how that whole thing happened, okay? Because we could not get this thing right collectively as a people. Now, again, the Torah is not a list of do's and don'ts, Israel, okay? The Torah is light, is love, is peace, is liberty, and Yahushua is the lawgiver. And we show our love for Yahushua by following his Yorah, or his Torah, and keeping his commandments. I have to say that again. The Torah is light, it's love, it's peace, it's liberty, it's joy. Yahushua is the lawgiver. All right, he is the lawgiver, and we show our love to the Father and the Son by following his Torah and keeping his commandments. I'm going to go to the scripture. Everybody knows this scripture. This should be like the national anthem for all Israelites. John 14:15. Everybody knows that. Okay? If you love me, all right, keep my commandments. We need no breakdown on that. All right? And so, with that, the other three things that I want to talk about, and it's just real brief. What we need to understand, okay, is the language of the scripture. Okay, to truly understand what the Father and Son is trying to relate to us, we must consider a few things. And I talked about one of them was the Torah. And the other thing is the language of the scripture. It should also be noted too that there's also a book of Matthews, okay, that's written in Hebrew that's called the Shem Tov's Matthew. So that's very important. It's also should be noted that in the book of Revelation, the first chapter, when John the Baptist was on the island of Patmos, I believe all of that was written in Hebrew. All of that. I don't believe that the Messiah was talking to John the Revelator in Greek. I believe that he was speaking to him in Hebrew. I believe that the religious leaders in Jerusalem during the time of the Messiah's ministry, all of those Pharisees, scribes, and Essenes, all of those guys spoke Hebrew. I believe that the Messiah spoke to the 12 in Hebrew. I do believe, and everybody has this understanding, that Greek and Latin was also floating around at the time. And I'm not saying that these guys didn't also understand that language. But I do, again, truly believe, and I'm willing to bet the farm on this also, the house too, is that The Pharisees understood Hebrew very well, and they spoke the Hebrew. I believe that Shaul spoke Hebrew. When Shaul was on the road to Damascus, I believe that the Messiah spoke to Shaul in Hebrew. I believe that John the Baptist, Ezekiel, all of these guys spoke Hebrew. So Hebrew is very important. So again, the language of the scripture is very important. The context of the scripture is very important. We have to understand the context. What is the scriptures talking about? What is it? What is the picture? What is it trying to tell us? Is this about only Israel, or is this about incorporating this teachings to everybody? And I believe, based on my understanding of the scripture, is that understanding the context of the scripture is that Israel was given this responsibility. Israel was given this job to show forth the praises, okay, and the Shekinah of the Father to the whole world. All right. There's only a God, one power, one. That's it. And the Father sent His Son, okay, because that John 3:16 is very interesting. I believe that He sent the Son to the world, and the world is the nation of Israel, because that word world is talking about a government, a society, and a nation. I understand that whole zone there, but the scriptures is about expansion. You can't take scriptures in a box and say that it's mine and I'm not going to share it with nobody else. That's like a selfish kid with a toy. That's not how the scriptures work. All right. This is about showing forth the praises and the glory to all the nations on the planet Earth. You can't take the Torah again like a little kid, all right, and say it is mine. I'm not going to share it with nobody else. It doesn't work like that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, the culture of those hearing the message. And that's very important. The culture of those hearing the message when the message was given. That's very important. Israel, this is about our culture, our identity, okay? There were things that was placed upon us, okay? And what happened now is that we forgot who we are. And we now fall under this thing now where we say, well, we in America, so we might as well do what the Americans do. Okay, they celebrate birthdays, they celebrate Christmas, New Year's Eve, all these pagan things that they do here in America. We do those things, and I'm here to say is that when it says "come out of her, my people," listen, we really need to be set apart, okay, and not follow these pagan holidays, and understand that we have a culture. All right. Now, with that understanding, what I want to do, I want to go ahead into the basis for today's lesson. And we're still talking about Zerah, the seed. The seed is so important. And we're not going to be able to get away from that. And that's the reason why I talked about Torah. Torah separates the seed. Because we have to understand now there's two seeds that's being planted that we're working with here. We're talking about the good seed and we're talking about the mingled seed. So seed is very important. Now, the first scripture that I want to go to is Mark, the 4th chapter. Mark, the 4th chapter. Mark, the 4th chapter, and I want to read the 13th verse. Yeah, the 13th verse. Does that have it? Yeah, the 13th verse, excuse me. No, actually, let's read 11 to 13. And he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Father. The word mystery is very important, okay, because we're talking about the deeper meaning of the scripture. There's the literal meaning, but there's a message behind the message, all right? So again, that word mystery is very important. And he said it to them, unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Father. Because we have to understand from Genesis, okay, until we see the coming of the Messiah, everything that's talked about in the Tanakh or in the Torah is all alluding to the coming of the Messiah. This is the mystery. This is the reason why a lot of people who follow Torah, it came to my attention that a lot of brothers and sisters aren't able to see the Messiah in the Old Testament. But this, you can only see this now through the mystery and understanding that each verse is a seed. Each chapter is a seed. Okay, so there's a message behind the message, and the story is alluding to a bigger story. We have to understand that. He said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Father, but unto them that are without Torah, all these things are done in parables. Verse 12, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest at any time they should be converted, and their sins shall be forgiven them. So again, it's very important that we understand the mediator, the Messiah. Okay, we're not worshiping, okay, the Messiah. We're not doing that. We're just respecting, okay, the chain of command, the Father, the Son. That's what we're doing here. Because there's two Hebrew words that's very important. Is the word shakah and the word abad. Okay, so we have to make sure that we understand those two forms of worship. Verse 13, and he said unto them, know you not this parable? So we have to understand where it says, and the Messiah said unto them, know you not this parable? If we are to understand, okay, the other parables, it is very, very important that you understand this parable. If you can understand this parable, you will be able to understand the rest of the parables, and it will make the scriptures, okay, a whole lot easier to understand, okay? Because for me, understanding this parable here opened up, it opened the door for me where I was able to see the picture a lot clearer. Now, I don't have the full view of it because this is a walk. And I do have a better understanding of what's going on here because all of this brought me to the understanding of the feast days. The feast days are so important, okay? But I just want to stay on track here. And he said unto them, know you not this parable? It's very important that we understand this parable. And how then will you know all parables? So if you can't understand this parable, how can you then expect to understand the other parables? Verse 14, the sower soweth the word. And that's, I'm going to read back. I said to 15, to 13, but I got a little carried away. So just, be patient with me here. The sower soweth the word where the word is sown, but when they have heard, Nakash cometh immediately and taketh away the Torah, okay, Devarim, that was sown in their hearts. Verse 15 is very, very important. It said, the sower soweth the word. So we have to understand now, okay, who is the sower that soweth the word? The sower would be the Father. He soweth the word, which was Yahushua, okay, and the word became flesh. The sower sent or soweth the Messiah, and the Messiah came to give that light because the world was in darkness during the time of his ministry. So the Messiah was that light that was in the world. So again, the sower is the Father, and he soweth the word, which was Yahushua. Now, with that understanding, what I also want to do now is go to Mark, the 14th chapter. This is talking about the wheat and the tares now. Ha-Chittah-Wa-Ha-Zizanion. This is all referring. This is all one series here. Mark 14:21. 14:21. Excuse me, Mark 14:21. The Son of Man indeed goeth, as it is written of him. But woe unto him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. Good were it be for that man if he were not born. Excuse me, if he were not born. 22. And as they did eat, the Messiah took bread and blessed and brake it and gave it to them. And he said, take, eat, this is my body. That's a very good scripture, but there was something else that I was looking at. Actually, it wasn't it was Matthew. Let's go back to this right quick. Matthew, Mark. Bear with me 1 second, Israel. Here we are. I'm back with you. Actually, it's Mark 4:21. And he, which is the Messiah, said to them, is a candle brought to be put under a bushel or under a bed, and not to be set on a candlestick? Verse 22. For there is nothing hid which should not be manifested, neither is anything kept secret, but it shall come abroad. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. So it is very important for us, again, Israel, for us to understand these parables here. So important. Another scripture that I want to go to is Matthew the 13th chapter. That's the one that I wanted to go to, was Matthew the 13th chapter. And this is all talking about, okay, the wheat and the tares. All right, the wheat and the tares. Matthew the 13th chapter, 13, and I want to read verses 19 to 30. Because again, we're talking about the sower and the seed. When one heareth the word, okay, Devarim, okay, Torah, the teachings or the instructions, when one heareth those things of the kingdom and understandeth it, and understandeth not, then come Nakash, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. That is he which received seed by the wayside. But he that receiveth the seed, again, this word seed is very, very important, zarah. But he that receiveth zarah into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, or the Devarim, the Torah, and with joy receive it, yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. All right. Verse 22. He also that receiveth seed, zarah, and the seed is referring to, okay, the Torah. This is what the seed is, the instructions. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, the instructions, and the care of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receives seed into good ground, and that's the whole thing that must happen. The seed, the zarah, must fall on good ground. All right, and we, okay, have to be that earth willing, okay, to receive the Messiah in our hearts. All right, and that's the reason why Kepha talked about in First Peter, the 2nd chapter. And the only way that we can do that, we have to go through a system called detox. All right, and the way that we detox now, it happens through prayer, fasting, and meditation. That's how you detox, and this is how you're able to get away all of that defilement out of the body. And once that happens now, the seed is able to fall on good ground. Verse 23. But he that received the seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word, which is Torah, and understand it. And that's very important that we understand the instructions that was given to us back at Mount Sinai. Which also beareth fruit. Okay, because in order for seed, okay, to bear fruit, the seed has to be implanted in the earth, and the earth has to have the necessary nutrition, okay, to cultivate or germinate the seed. So the earth is very, very important. The earth has to have the necessary nutritions, okay, or nutrients to bear the seed. And the way that's done, again, we have to detox. And the way that we detox, okay, is through prayer, fasting, and meditation. It can be done no other way. Because if you try to take the seed in, okay, and the body is corrupt, it's not going to germinate properly. It is not going to bring forth good seed or good fruit. Verse 23. And understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some an hundredfold, some 60, and some 30. So this is what the seed is supposed to do, because you're able to know the fruit by the seed that's inside of the fruit. Verse 24, another parable put he the Messiah forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened to a man which soweth good seed. Good seed. And what is that good seed? The good seed is the Messiah. Okay, in his field. And the field is referring to amongst the nation of Israel. That's where it first took place at. Now, this seed now, once it falls on the good field, okay, it's now supposed to be the healing for the rest of the nations. And it tells us that in the book of Revelation. Verse 25, but while men slept, and that is very, very important for us to understand, but while men slept, who are those men? Those men that slept were the men that were supposed to have been guarding, okay, the garden, guarding the field. But these men slept. We're not supposed to be sleeping. But while men slept, okay, his enemy. And who is the enemy? The enemy is Nakash. While men slept, his enemy, which is Nakash, came and sowed tares. He planted tares amongst the wheat. Now, who is this referring to? Let me read the rest of it. Excuse me. And so tares amongst the wheat and went his way. What we have to understand, okay, this is talking about two seeds. We know that there's 12 tribes, okay, which makes up one nation. And we know that there are many other nations out here, but this is all boiling down to two seeds. The good seed, okay, and the bad seed. And we see the first example, okay, of the man falling asleep was in the Garden of Eden. Because Adam's commission was to guard the garden. Adam fell asleep, okay, and not properly grooming his wife Eve. And so what happened now is that Nakash comes to Eve, okay, and sows a tear amongst her. And the same thing is happening here. We can't fall asleep, because if we don't stay on our grind, okay, teaching these scriptures here, the enemy is going to come and sow a tear amongst the wheat. That's the reason why, again, the title of this show is called The Wheat and the Tares. Ha-Chittah-Wa-Ha-Zizanion, which is a Greek word meaning tear. Nakash came and sowed a tear amongst the wheat. Verse 26. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So how did that happen? 27. So the servants of the household came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in thy field? For whence then have it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Will thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. The harvest is is a term that was taught to us that means that happens in the 7th month. So again, the harvest is talking about the end of the harvest, which is one of the holy convocations, which is talking about a feast day. Let them both grow together until the harvest, and it's at the time of harvest. I will say to the reapers, gather you together, first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn. So it is very important that we understand, okay, the parable of the wheat and the tares. That's going to give us, again, a better understanding on what's going on in the scriptures. Now, what I want to do, okay, with the wheat and the tares is because the Messiah is always talking to us in agricultural terms, because we were agricultural people. And these agricultural terms is foreshadowing a deeper understanding of what's going on. This is how you're able to tell a wheat from a tare. At the beginning stages, you're not able to tell the difference between a wheat and a tare. A wheat now can be identified only at the end of the harvest. And that term end of the harvest is so important. So while at its beginning stages, you can't tell, again, the difference between a wheat and a tare. The way that you're able to tell the difference is at the end of the harvest. That's the reason why you can't start plucking up and telling people, listen, you're not this and you're not that. Again, the wheat is referring to people and the tares is referring to people. I just want to make sure that's understood. So at the end of the harvest, the wheat bears fruit. And what wheat does at the end of the harvest, it bends in a submissive role because of the fruit that's on it. And so now when the person that planted the wheat, he comes and he takes the fruit from off the wheat, and the wheat gladly gives the fruit over to the person that harvests the seed, because it bows in a submissive role. But a tare doesn't do that. At the end of the harvest, the tare continuously stands up straight because it has no fruit to bear. But you're not able to see this until the end of the harvest. So Israel, again, this is about two seeds that's being planted here. And we see this growing side by side, even in the Garden of Eden. Okay, we see the good seed, which is the Messiah, which is the tree of life. And alongside there, we have the seed or the tree of good and evil. And the tree of good and evil is making reference to a mangled seed. That's called a tare. Very, very important for us to understand that. I want to go to the book of John 1:14. The book of John 1:14. Or the book of Yohanan 1:14. I just want to go over that again. And the word, okay, this seed, okay, was made flesh and tabernacled amongst us, and we beheld his Shekinah, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So again, this is talking about two seeds. I set before you this day, okay, life, okay, which is the good seed, and death. Death would be, okay, the tares. That's what this whole thing is talking about. The wheat and the tares, the good seed and the bad seed. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is let's go to the book of Matthew 4:4. Because what I want to talk about the benefits of wheat, because wheat brings forth a very important necessity for this physical life. But the word wheat has, again, spiritual principles, because wheat brings forth bread. And we want to go into some more definition about this word bread. Matthew 4 and 4. Matthew 4 and 4. Let's talk about this bread here. But he, the Messiah, answered and said, it is written, man should not live by bread alone. Not the physical bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Father. So we have to understand, what does that mean? We're talking about Torah here. Let's go to Deuteronomy 8 and 3 and see if we can get a better understanding of what's going on here. Let's go to the book of Devarim 8 and 3. 8 and 3. First, I'm going to read 8, 1 and 3. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall you observe to do, that you may live. Okay, so this is life by following Torah, and multiply and go in and possess the land which Elohim thy father swore unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Elohim thy father led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or not. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna. This manna is he is talking about bread. Okay, bread. And again, the Messiah is talking to us in agricultural terms. And wheat brings forth flour, bread. And we see this bread, this flour, in the wilderness, and it's called manna. And we ate this for 40 years in the wilderness. To humble thee and to prove thee, to know whether thine heart, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldst keep his commandments or not. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, but by every Devarim, by the Torah that proceedeth out of the mouth of Elohim, that Elohim doeth man live. So that's very, very important for us to understand. I want to go to the book of John 6:27. We break it down here that this wheat here, in a physical sense, brings forth bread, which is a necessity for life. But this bread here is alluding to the Messiah. The book of John 6:27. Because again, all of this from the beginning all the way to the end is alluding to the Messiah. 6:27. 6:27. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endureth for everlasting life, which is the Son of Man, which the Son of Man shall give you, for him hath the Father sealed. Verse 48. I am that bread of life. I am that bread of life. Verse 51. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. That's Deuteronomy 8, 1 through 3. Yahushua said, I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, this Torah teaching, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. That is so, so important. So now we have a very good definition of the word wheat. That word wheat, okay, at the end of the harvest brings forth bread, which is essential for everyday living. But that bread was alluding to, okay, the Messiah. The Messiah said, I am that bread of life. I am that bread. I am that water. I am that honey. I am that wine. I am all these things. This is the reason why I brought out earlier, okay, about the mayim. I brought about the bread. I talked about all these things because all of this stuff is alluding to Torah. Torah teachings. Now, What I also want to do is look up that word Zizanion. Okay, spelled Zizanion. It's a Greek word. The word is also called Darnel, spelled Darnel. In many translations, it's coming from the Greek word Zizanion, believed to be a transliteration of the Hebrew word Zunim, spelled Zunim. And according to a commentator by the name of David H. Stern, Zunium is a poisonous ryegrass that looks like wheat. That's the reason why I brought out earlier, is that at the beginning stages, when the wheat and the tares are growing, you're not able to tell the difference between a wheat and a tare. The only way that you're able to tell the difference between a wheat and a tare is at the end of the age. And the word end of the age is synonymous with the word end of the harvest. And that happens at the 7th month. The 7th month. Again, understanding the feast days is very, very important. So again, Zunion is a poisonous ryegrass that looks like wheat until the head appears at the end of the age, at the time of the end of the harvest. It has also been noted that when Zunium, spelled Z-U-N-I-M, Zunim, is ingested, it produces nausea, sleepiness, intoxication, and even death. That's what a tare does, okay? It produces death. Nothing comes out of a tare but death, sleepiness, and intoxication. It's an enchantment. So this helps us to understand a whole lot clearer about what happened in the Garden of Eden when Eve was seduced. An intoxication happened, was bestowed upon her. Okay, sleepiness, which even at the end brought forth death. So in final Israel, I just want to say again, the wheat and the tares is very, very important. We're talking about two seeds, okay? And this definition is being brought to us once again. The Messiah, the Father and the Son, is asking us to choose the good seed, okay? And the good seed produces wheat, bread, wine, honey, and milk. And from a spiritual standpoint, this is all relating to the Torah, and this is going to bring us into a better covenant relationship with the Father and the Son. But the tare, the tare brings forth an intoxicant, intoxication, death, sleepiness, and it separates us from Torah teachings. So again, brothers and sisters, I pray that this has been enlightening and that you got something out of it. And I'll see you during the next show, okay, that I do. And with that, I say shalom.